Romanticism. It is the subtle shade of scarlet that gives literature and all other types of media its glamorous, glowing, glittering appeal. Glitter has a more mesmerizing shine than gold, despite a strong difference in value. And similarly, glazed over fictional retellings of real life are far more appealing than the world's wretched reality. But when lines between fact and fiction blur, what then? Is it healthy to paint in your subconscious mind a more colorful, romantic expression of thoroughly unromantic themes, such as grief, unhealthy relationships portrayed as love, and possibly eating disorders? The first time I ever heard of an eating disorder was in the year 2016. I was 10 years old and had never heard the terms anorexia or bulimia before. I learned of eating disorders in a book that was centered around a girl who was determined to become a great ballet dancer. She decided that the way to achieve her goal was by losing weight and eventually suffered from an eating disorder. I am not going to go into too much detail, but towards the end of the book, her family, her friends, and the boy she liked realized that she had a problem and helped her avail of the treatment she needed. The book ended with her accepting that she needed therapy. However, after reading the book for the first time, I was admittedly more than a little confused. Why had barely anyone noticed that she wasn't eating? Why was the book more about her romance than it was about her battle? Why did she need psychiatric help in the first place? Why did she not just start eating again? All of these questions floated across my preteen brain every time I picked up the book again, but I never researched further. Recently, as I was scrolling through Pinterest, the holy grail of all book dragons, I came across a site that seemed intriguing, to say the least. It was titled 30 Things That No One Should Romanticize. And as someone who's become kind of a cynic about romance after reading way too many cliched books, this piqued my interest. By this point, I have read multiple books where the main character has had an eating disorder. I know this sounds kind of sadistic to read about other people's pain, but the reason I read these kind of books is to read about the hope and the joy that is ever present in every character's heart. Coming back to the website, it was one of the most eye-opening reads I had had in a while, and what I read completely shocked me. To paraphrase, the site revealed that eating disorders were often seen as beautiful or tragic, when in reality, they were nothing but a lot of agony, both mentally and physically. It stated things that were barely touched upon in most of the novels I had read, like how people with anorexia throw up constantly, their hair falls out by the fistful, they have to take laxatives to excrete normally, and some have to have dentures at 30 because their teeth have rotted from lack of use. I continued reading in horror, as the site mentioned that an ER nurse had once disclosed that her patient was vomiting feces because her stool was so severely impacted from her anorexia. Imagine vomiting your own feces because your body simply cannot adjust any other way. The brief paragraph concluded by saying that these symptoms did not even include the risks like life-threatening arrhythmias, heart failure, brain atrophy, gastric rupture. And I just sat on my chair for a while, dumbfounded, staring at my screen, wondering how have I missed this? How has almost every book I have read about eating disorders just skimmed across these risks as if they do not even exist? By this time, I was genuinely terrified. While authors may not have mentioned these factors as they could be triggering to some readers, the fact is that someone who wanted to lose weight could see simply not eating or binging and purging as a way to lose weight. They would not know that an eating disorder is almost impossible to beat. They would not know that they could be risking their life simply because they wanted to lose weight. All of these, what if they did not research further, as I did? What if they just glanced at things at surface level and decided that this would be the perfect method to get thinner? All of these questions raced through my mind at lightning speed, and I could not get this website out of my mind for days. After this, I started to wonder, Have I read any other books where something has been psychologically manipulated? Did this story have an abusive relationship that was still not portrayed as dangerous? Did this novel romanticize suicide to the point of it being deplorable? Did this book have a codependent relationship that was still not portrayed as toxic? Suddenly, I was seeing every book I had ever read through new eyes. War, excessive gambling, suicide, anxiety, depression, playing hard to get, jealousy. All of them were so obviously romanticized, when in reality, they were nothing but humongous emotional and physical burdens on people's lives. Again, as I ran through my list of books, I was disgusted. So subtly portrayed everywhere, yet so obvious when I go back to think about it. Why would we romanticize boys are mean to girls when they like them, when after a certain age, that being mean is called harassment? Why would we romanticize suicide when that person must have been in such a struggle mentally, just because after someone dies, we don't speak ill will of them? Why would we romanticize chronic illnesses when the person with the illness simply does not want to die? To us, they may be brave, and their fight, their spirit, may seem romantic, but to them, they just want to stay alive. When we exclaim in hushed whispers about the tenacity of a person with a chronic illness, do we ever stop to think that the person with the illness would give anything to stop people from commenting on their strength, that they would give anything to live without the probability that death will knock on their door the very next day? I want to make it clear. This talk is not about bashing books at all. I understand that symptoms of abusive relationships or fatal illnesses or mental health issues are an extremely sensitive subject. And therefore, when authors want their readers to have a good reading experience, they downplay some of these symptoms so that they can make sure that their readers' mental health is not affected by the novel. However, books can seem extremely relatable at times, and forgetting that fiction is false is easy to do when books can seem philosophical and situations in books seem to be taken out of real life. We can tip those rose-tinted glasses off of our noses and stop letting the crimson hue of romanticism color everything we touch. We have been given the gift of social media. What made social media so miraculous and what makes it so great to this day is its ability to give the voiceless a voice. We can use our voices on all the platforms that social media offers, and we can ensure that reading books is the addicting, enthralling, captivating roller coaster of emotions it was meant to be. Not objects used to justify suicide, depression, or any sort of mental illness or disease. Thank you.